Once again, you have tuned into On Air with Walt. I'm your host, Walt Lusk, and you can find us on every place there's a podcast, including iHeartRadio. And, of course, you can watch us live right now on ubngo.com and YouTube. And we'd love it if you would like, share, and subscribe. We love those subscribers. We really appreciate it. It helps us out immensely. Today, we have another unbelievable, fabulous musician. We've got Walt Waldman, and he is in the Midwest. We'll let him tell you. And he has been a phenomenal trumpeter since practically he could walk. So, hey, Willie, thanks for coming in and be on air.
Well, it's good to see you.
It's always good to be seen.
And I'm glad to be on air. I did put 20 years into Los Angeles. Let's see, Hello?
I'm here.
Anyway, I did live in Los Angeles 20 years, from 91 to about 2010. But I do hail from Indiana, Northwest Indiana, from high school at Chesterton, Indiana, up here 60 miles east of Chicago. So we had a really good marching band when I was in school. We won the state national champs. And I wasn't really the best trumpet kid in those days. I sat second chair trumpet, but I wound up getting a scholarship to Memphis State University. And that would be 1984.
That was Tennessee.
And right? I went down there. Yep, in Tennessee, good old Memphis, which was a good choice, really, because we had Kurt Whalen in the band, Grammy winner. Mulgrew Miller was in the band. We had James Williams, another Grammy winner. And I went down to Beale Street with my friends one night partying, and we heard this killer jazz coming up from this club called Handy's on Beale Street. And I ran up in there and I pulled out my goofy trumpet and I played some marching band goofiness. And the old guy, Dr. Herman Green, sax player, who's famous for, Lionel Hampton, B.B. King, Rufus Thomas, Isaac Hayes, and John Coltrane, basically grabbed me afterwards and said, "Son, I'm either going to beat you up or you're going to become my student." So I guess I took the student path.
Well, that was probably a very wise thing to do in retrospect, right?
Yeah, he basically said, "Son, don't be running up on some guy's bandstand not being, invited. You always need to talk to the band leader, before you jump on a stage and find out if it's okay. But don't worry, I did the same thing in 1947 with Sonny Stitt in New York City."
Well, come on, the world is the stage, right? Isn't the world your stage?
But anyway, I started down there, the only white kid with the brothers, and on Beale Street, and going to Dr. Herman Green's house every Wednesday, and basically taking lessons. So I met my partner, Dave Aaron, who became the famous engineer and mixer. How I wound up getting on all the Tupac and Snoop Dogg and different recordings over the years. We all went to Memphis State University recording school.
Wow.
And Dave and I had a little sound company called Free World Sound that did sound for Albert King and Herman Green and, all the different things going on in the hood there. And basically, we got to intern at Sun Records, to quicken the story. And my partner got a credit on Shake, Rattle, and Hum. U2 came through. This would be 1987.
Wow.
And I got to take Bono and the Edge down to a juke joint down in Olive Branch, Mississippi. We got a nice newspaper article out of it. And we had a band we formed, Free World, that I formed in 1987. And it got pretty popular down in Memphis. We got a brass note on Beale Street. The band's still going. But Dave and I decided to leave Memphis in 91. And so we came to Los Angeles. And we landed at Larrabee Recording Studios on Santa Monica Boulevard. And we got to be assistants for Casey Cohen. And Casey Cohen did Paula Abdul, Michael Jackson, Prince.
There you go.
So Dave was the assistant engineer, and I was basically the guy vacuuming, hooking up things, setting up microphones, general maintenance. I was good at fixing things, soldering things. And then that's when I began my whole process of sneaking in horn parts in the middle of all this.
You got to sneak those puppies
and that's basically
good for you.
Yeah, so I'd sneak, horn parts in. After hanging out a week with Wu-Tang Clan, they'd be like, "Oh, I hear you play the goofy trumpet. Where's it at 2 a.m?" And I'd pull the little thing out and then get myself a horn part. But so we got into the whole Snoop Dogg thing because in the middle of the night one night, Snoop Dogg comes in the studio with a pack, like 30 guys.
Of course, he had an entourage.
Everybody gets scared off by this stuff.
Yep, his entourage.
So Dave says, if you got 25, oh yeah, big one too, big scary one, But we were used to it from the whole blues Memphis thing. Yeah, we were already used to that from Memphis because we played the late night bars in the hood, right, in the black neighborhoods. They had bars and they had a 3/4 gallon bottle of booze on the table when you buy a mixer drink. And of course, somebody put $100 in the tip bucket at 6 a.m. There was another set going down. So
well, that's important.
Daylight every night up in these late night blues bars. It was. Those guys could work the tip bucket down there in Memphis. Trust me, the brothers could work the tip bucket, and it was very important. So they basically were averaging about $20 a man a set. How's that?
That works.
And well, the music was fantastic. Of course, the blues music was fantastic. So, we had Albert King, we had Calvin Newborn, we had Phineas Newborn, we had Mulgrew Miller. Again, James Williams came out of this scene. Eric Gale is the newer blues guitarist. Herman Green, I can keep going. Terry Stafford, I'm still playing with. And basically, we even got into improv music.
Willie,
nowadays.
I don't know if you can do anything about it, but your internet is a little.
In the afternoon, by time 3 in the morning came around.
Your internet is a little wonky. I don't know what we can do to.
My internet's a little funny. Well, welcome to Indiana.
It's a little wonky.
Yeah. We got wonky internet.
Your audio is okay, but your visual's kind of goofy.
Technical difficulties like a bad cord.
Yeah, like a bad cord. I don't know if anything to do. Yeah, you're on this end, you're a little frozen, so I don't know if we can do anything about it, but just to let you know.
It's like a bad cord. It's always a problem.
Yeah.
Well, we might be frozen, huh?
Yeah.
It's like one headphone works, you still make the session work.
That's correct. So what wait, let's take a step.
I don't know what to tell you on that.
That's all right. We'll limp along. We'll limp along.
That's a good one.
What made you way back deciding to pick up the trumpet? Uh-oh.
That's a weird one. For some reason, at 7 years old, I just wanted to play the trumpet.
Oh wow! So back okay.
Yeah. And I grew up in a farm country. So how's this? I should be a mandolin player. I probably should be a banjo player. I grew up on
I was gonna say banjo. 600-acre
farm in Westville, Indiana. So I probably should not be playing trumpet, but for some reason, I wanted to play trumpet. How's that?
The trumpet called you. It looks like. Sounds like
playing trumpet.
It sounds like it called you.
Yes, the trumpet called me. Yes, and I went and took lessons every Wednesday down in a small town of Valparaiso, Indiana, and I got into band. And even though I grew up on a farm, again, I should be a guitar player, singing country songs. Somehow I wound up liking Chuck Mangione I saw as a kid. I saw Doc Severinsen, which I really dug.
Of course, he was involved with the Tonight Show way back when, and Chick Corea was awesome as well.
That kind of stuff really influenced me.
Awesome. I before we get too much.
Chick Corea. Let's see, the first rock band I saw was Kansas.
What? Say again?
I said the first rock band I saw was Kansas.
Oh, Kansas.
The group
sure.
Kansas.
Very familiar with Kansas.
As a rock band.
Yep.
So I saw some rock bands. Yeah, I saw them. And Rush. I saw Rush. Let's see. Who else did I see? Deep Purple. Saw AC/DC. Saw Pink Floyd. Animals tour. That was huge.
That was
a huge turn on.
That was a big tour.
I eventually got into a bunch of Grateful Dead concerts when Jerry Garcia was still alive.
Yeah.
Not so much lately, but back in the day, I really dug the Grateful Dead when Jerry was alive.
Yep, he made great ties too.
Miles a couple times. Huh?
He had fabulous ties as well. Jerry Garcia.
Yeah. Sure did.
Okay, I think you're back for the most part. We've got a tune here from Beale Street from 2014. It's real quick. You want to flash a little trumpet here? We're going to play Willie Waldman and Beale Street real quick. That was back in the day, Beale Street. You said that was kind of your origins?
Well, that's some of the same guys I started talking about later on. So the guys you hear on that recording are the same guys I'm talking about. What would that be? 20 years later.
This was 2000.
Almost
This was
30
14.
years later
That was
from meeting them.
Mm-hmm.
That's Terry Saffold on the drums. Yeah, I know, but it's still, I'm using the same people that I met in 84, 85. The band I'm playing with, Terry Saffold, Herman Green, Dave Aaron, and myself, we all met in 1985. The bass player is Cecil McDaniels. He was with Stevie Wonder for 10 years.
Wow.
So all those guys you're hearing on that gig, and we got the gig from Mike Glenn, who ran the Omni New Daisy Theater on Beale Street, the big theater, and we started doing shows with him, shooting the mid-'80s, and he ran the blues tent there at the fest, and that's basically us playing together 35 years later. How's that?
I'll bet you guys are tight. I bet you guys are tight.
84, 94. Yeah.
I'll bet you guys are tight.
Yeah, so there you go. Some of the guys I'm kind of starting my own stories out with. Yeah, so there you go. I had all those guys playing with me there at the Memphis Music Fest. And that's basically what we would do. We would do that, jazz, blues. So we got into making up a lot of music, and that's a good example of one where we just made that up. We just come up with that out of the blue.
Wow.
We just come up with stuff because, again, after playing over again, right? You already played your 20, 30 songs you had in your book, and then you had to come up with stuff. So we just started making stuff up.
So you're just jamming. That's awesome.
To be a lot of fun, and really just jamming, and really how you write it in a room together and you start jamming, and this is how things come out, right? This basically guys that write songs would take that right there and use that as one piece, and then find another little piece, and then find a spot for some vocals, right? Sit down and write all that stuff out, and then basically that's how you create songs.
No doubt. And you had an album that came out in 2001. I know you've had many, but
yep. Trumpet Ride.
Yes.
That's all improv. Again, we made up all that stuff. Neat thing about that album is the keyboardist is very famous. Greg Kurstin, the keyboardist on the album, is now an 8-time Grammy winner.
There you go. Wow.
He did the Adele hit song from just recently. He produced the Foo Fighters. He produced Elton John. He produced, Paul McCartney, Adele's record in 210, Kelly Clarkson. But in these days, he was just the king of jazz. So it kind of surprised us later on in his life how he became one of the biggest pop producers out there, Greg Kurstin.
Well, he won
the Producer of the Year last year. The keyboardist. How's that?
Wow.
And that's a good story because you would have never thought in 201, Greg Kurstin was going to do Britney Spears and Adele and all these pop people because, yeah, seriously, he was like a Chick Corea. Fantastic jazz player. Fantastic.
Well, it is.
Multi-instrumentalist, kind of quiet. I hate to use the word nerdy, but you know what I mean. He wasn't like the coolest, hippest dude on the planet, right? But super awesome, multi-talented guy. But yeah, he wound up winning all the Grammys. Let's see, drummer was from Phil Lesh and Friends, the Grateful Dead's bass players band. John Mullo. Stephen Perkins was in the group Jane's Addiction. Tony Franklin, one of the bassists from England, was with Jimmy Page's Firm and White Snake and like Blue Murder. And then Dan Schulman from the band Garbage. So I had a lot of rock guys. So basically I started incorporating what I would consider rock fusion improv at this point, and still do. So instead of using jazz guys, I'm using the rock guys, rock and roll guys.
Well, that just to show you where a lot of origins of rock came from is from jazz. I mean, the Beatles even admitted that.
We had Robbie Krieger play with us for a while. He was fantastic from the Doors, and he was the hugest jazz fan. Actually, he told us all kind of stories that him and Jim Morrison would go to New York and go see Dizzy Gillespie play.
There you go.
And all the different, huge jazz guys. And so when we bumped into them, they all wanted to play jazz. So I was like, okay, we can play some improv fusion and do jazz, or what we consider modern day jazz.
Because it says here that album was basically Latin and fusion.
It's all made up again. Stuff we're making up. Stuff we're making up. So.
They gotta peg it somewhere so they know how to play it, how to, where, and when to play it on those playlists on radio.
It's called the language of music. See, they have a hard time with us because we're moving around. And I do metal jams, and we do. Oh, we call it island music. Yeah, the Latin stuff. Okay, we call it island music. And then we've had metal jams. And lately we've been running funk lately. We've run gypsy music. Let's see, I've run everything. We can, depending on what we feel like that day.
What's been your most fun project to date, you think?
I would say all of them. All of them have been fun because we mix it up and we're creating music with people. That really is the funnest thing. I do enjoy my group Banyan with Stephen Perkins. We had one version out there in LA with Nels Klein. He's pretty famous now for being in the band Wilco, a really cool avant-garde guitarist. And then we had punk rock bass player Mike Watt in the group. And we also used Rob Wasserman, who was with Bob Weir for years. But we've had a couple different formulas of it, and we just enjoy it because it moves around again. It's not really stuck in one spot, and it's different every night. Every night's different. We come up with new stuff every night. So
well, that makes it new and fresh and exciting, and doesn't make it boring, of course. If you're playing the same stuff over and over and over and over again.
Same set.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's boring to play the same set, and the horn department can get real boring. In a pop band, they have 2 songs to play on a set. Play the same stupid horn parts, same way every night. Pretty boring, After a while, it's just like whatever, fall asleep and play it.
Well, you could do it in your sleep, so that makes it interesting for you and the fans. So that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. We did a record up by you called Total Improv, All Improv. It's on the Bandcamp label. We did it in our Burbank studio there on the Hollywood Way and Burbank Boulevard. We had an SSL room, Dave.
Just down the street.
And just down the street from you. We used to see Jay Leno at the pizza joint at the corner, right? We're by the Smart and Final. And anyway, yeah, of course you see Jay Leno in the funny car right down the street.
Which car was it today? Yeah.
Yeah, my car was today.
Yeah.
But anyway, we just basically hooked the whole band up in the studio and then jammed and then picked the best of. And I had a guitarist for the Voice TV show, Raphael Mariah. Everybody was picking on this guy because he was doing Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. But unbelievable guitarist from Brazil. Just unbelievable. He sounds like Steve Vai. So, I got this guy just tearing it up with a local guy, Marco Villarreal from out here. It was just unbelievable. Two guitar guys like Steve Vai, duking it out. And the funny one was we always joked he was from the Voice TV show in the band Pink. So the Pink guitars kicks everybody's butt.
Well, there you go. Having a guitar mix in there probably made it more interesting.
But I love putting different people together and making it interesting. It's always fun. I do this Cannabis Cup every year. So the Adam Dunn radio show, you'll like this since you're a radio guy, he does this 24-hour 420 radio show. And Adam Dunn was the guy behind all the marijuana seeds at the Amsterdam Seed Bank. So we go back to the early 2000s doing these weed contests, the Cannabis Cup, right? So, of course, one year I hooked Snoop up on it about 202, and he gave Snoop a bulletproof hemp coat. Uh-oh. So now that Snoop got a bulletproof hemp coat, every rapper in town wanted a bulletproof hemp coat. So, we got the Wu-Tang guys involved and Be Real, Cypress Hill. Well, anyway, I had last year play 24 hours on this radio show, and that was hard. I mean, that was a long haul, and I got to do it again this 420. You got to play 24 hours,
and
like doing soundtracking, background, kind of weird music to you guys talking. Now, what blows my mind is they keep talking for 24 hours. That's a long time to talk.
That's a long time, and if I had some 420, I would not have been able to do that.
I don't know how they pull it off, but it is tough. But that's one good one for the radio. We have a radio. There's a couple radio stations that do live music. One's KUMD in Duluth, Minnesota. That's a good spot. They got a really neat little NPR station up there. We played. Let's see. There's one in Denver. I forget the call letters for the one in Denver. Lots of cool little NPR stations all over the place. I've gone and interviewed at and played on. Mark Greeny at Groove Marketing, friend of mine. He does radio promo for the radio, jazz radio.
So how did you get involved with Disney and then doing the Tombstone, 101 Dalmatians?
Well, that was the Musicians Union. So there you go. The Musicians Union came through with, oh man, they had a little thing to hook you up with a job. So when I first I was a member of the union in South Bend, Indiana. So I got to Los Angeles. And I kept my union dues up to date.
Sure.
So they had a thing. They had referral placement stuff. And since I was young and good and the new kid on the block, they hooked me up on some stuff. How's that? And the union was great. I'm still a member. I still see some residuals from that stuff. Wonderful. I did a band Pepper.
Yeah.
It was a surf band, and I see nice residuals from a couple songs with them, Barrington, Levi. But basically, if I was in town, I could probably skate in on more of those. My bass player, John Avila, boy, he's Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
And he produced the Lucas Nelson, Lady Gaga Oscar winner, and his resume is ridiculous. He's got hundreds of those credits. I got a few through the union. I didn't get half the number that he did, or some of the other guys did that are out there every day.
Well, maybe
but the union's great. The union is good. So, Local 47, Betty.
Unfortunately, maybe there's not just as much of a call for a amazing trumpeter as there is for other instruments.
Well, that's the thing. So there you go. Ally McBeal.
Yeah, the TV show.
Played the part. This is a fun one. I played the part, so I went down to Union Hall and cried, "Hey man, can I get on the TV show?" And they're like, "Okay." So I go down there. 4 in the morning. Of course, you got to be down there 4 in the morning in their makeup and costumes. But the funny part is, I got to now fake my part in a bar seat. So trying to do the dance stuff, faking the part was a mess. I was back in marching band getting yelled at. You're not in line. You're moving too much. Blah, blah, blah,
You're missing your mark.
Yeah, you're missing your mark. The heads up, all this. And the guys that were used to faking and playing it were really, really good at it. They were all mad at me for, basically messing everything up, making everybody take 30 takes, right?
You just made them look. You just made them look good. So you actually So you
And
actually
the funniest part about all that is that, all right, let's go watch the show, everybody. Boy, you better not turn your head, because when the scene finally comes up, it's about 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, gone. So here you spent a whole day filming this little scene, with all these people, and it can't be longer than 5 seconds, the whole shot on the TV show. So kind of fun.
I know that feeling. My mom has a nice house in Hollywood, and they've used it for several shows. And one was Grey's Anatomy, and they cleaned out the whole front part of the house. And it was, of course, during the snow season, and so they put cotton all over the foliage. And literally, it was a front door scene that was no more than probably 30 seconds to a minute. And it took them a whole day to set up and a whole day to take it down. So, the magic of television is really interesting. Behind the scenes, they make it look easy, but it's a lot of work no matter what it is.
It's a lot of work. Like you said, they spend like 2 days building your house and putting cotton balls on the bushes. And you're right. You're lucky if it's a 5 or 10 second shot. You're like, really? And I mean, like you said, there's 40 people there and trucks and lights and the whole work. So yeah, we did the Ally McBeal, and we put lots of days in for these little 2-second shots, 3-second shots. I don't know, little bitty things here and there. It was fun, but it was fun. It was fun.
So you also worked on 101 Dalmatians? That was
Yep.
animation. So there you go. So how'd that work?
Well, there you go. There's the Union number 4 trumpet. Let's see, that would have been about 95, somewhere in there. And I went up to the little orchestra and snuck in there. And again, it wasn't anything too hard. Played for a trumpet. There's a very famous trumpeter on that. Tom Berenger, I think is his name. Bergeron. And of course, Bergeron's on everything. He's on everything.
The name sounds familiar.
I was on tour last week, and I tried to make the Musicians Union Monday sight reading with the big band. So, they got all the big band guys down there.
Yeah.
And, the guys that are doing the Mission Impossible and, all the really good soundtracks. But anyway, new composers bring sheet music in. So I called one of my guys, and he's like, "Oh, we're all ticked off at the Union. They've been shut down with COVID. They're not even open. Blah, 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 blah."
Wow.
So wasn't able to go jam this time at the Union on the Monday night. That's a good way of meeting all those guys.
So what was your involvement with Tombstone?
Again, I was like the third trumpet guy coming through the Union Hall, and you go down to the little sound stage, and you get they give you a little place card. And again, that's going to be before I even moved out there. That's going to be 96, 95.
Wow.
When we were doing the Snoop Dogg stuff. Because once I got on a couple Snoop Dogg things, and then I was in the Union, that got around. So again, I was the hot kid on the block at that point. I was the young kid that came out from, Indiana. And by 95, I was on with the Tupac California Love, was basically the number 2 single of that year, right? Then I got on TLC Creep, which was another big single of that year, and then Salt&Pepa. So I had a couple right in that 94, 95, 96 zone. I had some pretty big singles I got on, hanging out again with my friend Dave Aaron. Once again, TLC, I'm hanging out in the studio doing a Snoop Dogg record, and they're next door trying to find a sample in the key of D flat, which is a funny key. So they couldn't find a little part, and I ran over there and knocked it out, in about 5 minutes. And a lot of, Mighty Fine Man is another little bitty stab I think I knocked out in 5 minutes. And that's about all the time I had to do it. Basically there was people went out to eat. Hey man, where's your horn? Grab your horn. Can you put a little stab here? And basically throw a little stab and double, triple it. Bam, done.
True professional.
And in those days, you didn't really sample the stuff and fly it in. You had to play it through the whole tune and double it and triple it, right? Everything had to be doubled and tripled, but I kept most things pretty simple. Da 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 or da da. And then they would mute it a lot, and once in a while would come in and then basically knock it out and get out of the way, because nobody was spending no hour on horn parts, that's for sure. Nobody was spending more than about 15 minutes on horn part at that. So, you know what I mean? And the next trick was asking what they wanted. So instead of me trying to come up with horn parts, what do you want? Guy goes, da-da. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Da-da. Is that it? Okay. Make sure you get the timing right. Run in the mic, put the mic down. Hell, if even if the headphones weren't working, I'd cut the part. You know, there's another one. Wasn't messing around, wasting no time on headphones. Nobody had time to mess around with my headphone mix. If a headphone didn't work, as long as I could hear the start off good enough, I was good to go. Because again, I couldn't really waste a lot of time on stuff like that. If I got into being all nitpicky about headphones and stuff, basically it'd be like, get out of here in about 2 seconds, you know? All right, we don't need to mess with the horn part, out of here, you know?
How was it working with Snoop Dogg?
He was really nice. Really nice. All the success you're seeing is because he was decent. Hi, how you doing? Bring my friends. Hi, how you doing? Brought my wife. Hi, Renee, how you doing? My name's Snoop. You need a macaroni and cheese. Really always funny, kind of the class clown, and really, really nice. And so it was a very actually fun, creative thing, actually. Now, there was other stuff going on around it that wasn't so cool, but he was great. And I saw the cooking show coming. You know, he loved cooking. Every session we did, there was always some cooking going on. Pork chops, chicken thighs, macaroni and cheese, and hot dogs. You know, the standard hood food, we'd call it. And, you know, again, when I saw the Martha Stewart thing and Fred Reck was his DJ we used, I saw that one coming. I said, oh, yeah, he could, you know, that was a hit. So Snoop's great. And I'm glad he bought Death Row. I think that's fantastic. You know,
Death Row Records.
I think it's fantastic.
And
if Death Row thing's a shame because it was very, very creative, they made up all that music. All that music was made up, improv, which was pretty impressive. The sad thing is you had the big pirate Suge Knight, you know, and anyway, without getting into it, the pirate, you know, wrecked the whole thing. But the music and the creativity and everything around it was awesome. So how's that? So a lot of positivity there, actually.
I can only imagine. And then you mentioned Tupac. How was it working with?
Well, Tupac was part of that, and he was amazing because he could come up off the top of his head a rap with 3 paragraphs. So he would do his first paragraph, second with a hole for a character, another paragraph, and a hole for a guy, and double and triple it perfect, which blew my mind how he remembered what he did.
You gotta remember what he said.
2 or 3. For real, double and triple it perfect. Meaning sing it the exact same way. Oh, you know, perfect. And then knock out at least 1 song a day, if not 2 or 3 songs a day going to radio. Like,
wow.
Literally start to finish, moving. Yeah, we were moving fast. Tommy D. Doherty, who I still record with a lot, was his engineer. He's a white guy from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. There's a picture I sent you of Tommy D. But Tommy D. is a fantastic engineer we met, and there was a couple of us guys. So it was, I'd like to say, breaking down racism. We had a nice Chinese girl working there. It was cool. It was cool. You know, everybody was musicians. We had some girls working there. We, you know, again, it was breaking down a lot of the garbage we're seeing these days with you know, the racism and subdivision, and you can't be a part of this, or blah blah blah.
Yeah, I know it's different.
You
today.
know, I wasn't a hip hop kid. You know, none of us really were. So.
No, I hear you. So why don't we take a break? I've got a quick couple minutes here from Live at Hodo. I picked this one. And that was, there we go. And that was back in 2014 as well, actually. Live at
That
Hodo.
beat at the end is how we would start all the rap out. So at the very end of that song, where you just heard the drum beat, that's basically how we started all those sessions. We would start with a drum beat and then add a bass part and slowly add things.
There you go.
All the Tupac songs and all the Snoop Dogg songs would start out with some raw drums like that. And we would loop them up and make a song out of it. And next thing you know, we'd start adding instruments, keyboards and, bass and a little guitar. The guitar they used to just plug straight into the board. And we'd cook up music like that pretty quick, within 2 hours, I would say. And then it would be time for somebody to rap. And basically, we could get a song done in about 4 or 5 hours in the Tupac days.
Wow, that's great. What do you think makes your music and your style and your playing so unique?
We're combining several styles again. And when I was trained by the Memphis guys, they trained me not to sound like all the other trumpeters or try to be like the guys from New Orleans or be a brother, which I'm not. Basically, I'm a classically trained, college kid. So I fuse classical music with blues and jazz into my own thing. How's that? With Dr. Herman Green was taught by John Coltrane. So I basically got the lessons that Herman got from John Coltrane and all the fancy music theory and the Lydian augmented scales and Phrygian and half the minute scales, and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. So you could play without thinking. How's that? So the real goal is to play without thinking and just try to manifest all this stuff through your spirit.
Well, I think you've accomplished that beautifully, actually. I mean, yeah, you want to make it part of you, and it's just automatic. But that does take practice. That's darn sure.
Yeah. A lot of practice. So we would just practice things like dun 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 over and over and over, like a guy does curls, and then we had push-ups, da 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 da, over and over and over and over and over again. And after 5-10 years of that stuff, it's inside you at that point. You don't really have to think about it anymore.
Now, you've played in Wyoming, rumor.
I try to teach the same thing.
No, you've played in Wyoming, rumor has it.
Oh, yeah, I love playing there. We play all the ski resorts. It's the late 90s. We scored a movie soundtrack for a movie called MacArthur Park. I think it's 98 for the Sundance Film Fest with Billy Wirth from the, what was it? The Vampire movie guys. And we won a couple awards, Stephen Perkins and I, and Greg Kirsten's on that. And so one of the guys, Steve Auerbach, our booking agent, booked us at the Mangy Moose in Jackson Hole. So we go up there with Rob Wasserman, and it's 20 below zero, and the place is packed with 500 kids, and we pull off jazz fusion with no singer. So we've just fell in love with that whole area. Sun Valley, Idaho, Bozeman, Big Sky. I was just up there. And the fun part is to pull off jazz fusion or instrumental music, no covers in a cowboy town is pretty fun, So to go to a cowboy bar and get $500 in tips, you're doing something right. So we love it up there. We've been playing, Vail and Jackson Hole and Steamboat and Durango and all those little ski towns. We got Benton Spur in Zion, Utah, Park City, Utah, the Cabin. So yeah, we kind of concentrated on the mountains. We became, I guess, the Wild West jazz group.
Did you ski? Did you ever pick up skiing?
I'm not that good. I can ski, but I'm goofy. I can do the blue runs and the green runs, but I'm not that good. I love going. I took the snowmobiles out, but I'm called the sled slayer because I burned one up. I burned one engine up. I burned up a bell.
Oops.
So nobody lets me buy a snowmobile anymore. But I do go skiing. But some of the guys are really good. They're good. Some of the guys are really good. And the kids that like the music are fantastic skiers. And it's sort of the same thing. They're flowing with the snow and the mountain. So it's kind of almost the same thing on a different fractal. How's that? You know, when you're playing music, you're kind of riding a wave and flowing and playing. And when I watch these guys jumping off cliffs, which I think they're insane, skiing, they're just, it's the same vibe and they love it. So good crowd up there.
My daughters ski, and they tell me now, it's been the years I've skied. I used to ski a lot. They ski with helmets on. Because I guess it's getting crazy out there with the snowboarders and the skiers, and I got to wear a helmet to ski now.
Well, in our day, we didn't wear helmets.
No,
I get it,
no, I didn't. I didn't either. It's just hit the slopes and down you went.
Boy, some of the guys I'm talking about, I had to play taps for. There's a couple guys over the years that have died.
Yeah.
Which is sad. Avalanches. Let's see, avalanches. A couple guys got killed in avalanches. Some of that stuff's pretty crazy. How's that?
It is crazy.
Mountain climber guys. We had a guy that did do the helicopters and did the movies, the ski movies, right? The crazy stuff. Well, again, they don't even know where he's at on a mountain in Alaska. You know what I'm saying? He got buried in some fucking avalanche. God only knows where they'll find him 1,000 years from now. You know what I mean? So,
I do. I did powder skiing in Canada, and we had to wear a little peeps thing that basically beeped constantly. So if there was an avalanche, they could try and find you. So fortunately, we never hit one. But yeah, it's different now. As far as technology goes today, with all stuff going more computerized, how do you think that's impacted music at all from your perspective?
I still like all the old school stuff. I think all the computer crap is lo-fi, low fidelity. Let's start there. We had better stereos and better quality recordings back when we were young, and we had the big three-way speakers, the Pioneer speakers, remember?
Yep, and JPL was big and all that
receiver, stuff. Right?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Nowadays, everybody listens to everything on a cell phone, and so there's no bass on anything. There's a good one. Back when we were recording in the 90s, you had to have huge bass. And now the trick with huge bass was to get the vocals over it, right? And make it nice and clear and have some high end. Nowadays, there's no bass in the mix because everybody's listening to everything on a stupid cell phone.
No, I agree. And it's all computerized. It's like everybody used to play in a band in the garage back in the day to practice their moves and the bass and the whole 9 yards, and then they'd go and build their audience. And now they're in mom's living room with a computer, and it's different.
It's awful. I tell you what, I don't really like it. I sound like an old man.
No, I'm totally with you.
Like the big band guys, I really am not with it. I think the Pro Tools was the worst thing to hit. It was terrible back in the day, and of course it's gotten better. But you're still saying a bass wave is literally 30 feet long and about 10 feet high, a physical dimension of a decent sized bass note. And if you're cutting it 144,000 times and then you're error correcting it, et cetera, it's not the same as going through a tube compressor to a 2-inch tape machine. It's just not.
No, and it's all compressed.
Yeah, and again, we did all that Tupac and Snoop Dogg on analog tape. Yeah. All that stuff was done on. There weren't, there wasn't. We weren't sampling and flying stuff in. We were not. Everything was on 2-inch tape. The real old school LA2A universal audio tube compressors and Teletronics limiters, all that goody old stuff, like that microphone on the face of your picture there, an RCA 77 ribbon mic, 1954 vintage. We like 1960s vintage Neumann microphones, Telefunkins from the 50s. I play a 1951 Martin trumpet. I don't want a new trumpet.
There you go. They don't make them like they used to. And I agree with you. I have a good friend of mine that never went analog. He stayed analog, never went digital. He's a music producer, and and that's probably one of the reasons why I think that LPs are back. And without all the digitals and the CDs and everything, because you don't get the true feel and the true sound of the music.
We got one of the best mastering engineers. His name's Joe Gastword, and he did all the Grateful Dead records. He did Jimi Hendrix records, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Pink Floyd, actually, mastered Pink Floyd. He does everything on tape, and he is unbelievable. And we always talk about he doesn't do anything on digital.
Right.
Anything.
Right.
Anything. Trust me.
No.
I was over at his house one day, and he had the Pink Floyd master tapes. And check it out. The Money song is a 16-track 2-inch tape.
Jeez.
So all that, remember the Money with the cash register and all that stuff?
I sure
Literally
did.
a 16-channel 2-inch tape was it. And that stuff blows away. Like Pro Tools, you would probably have 40 channels. I don't know. It just wouldn't be the same. I don't know. It's just unbelievable, the sound quality difference, I think, from the old days to nowadays. It's garbage, really. Garbage.
I unfortunately think you're right. But from a new artist starting out today, right? Digital, analog, and such. What if you have any suggestions or recommendations or?
You got to practice. Again, everybody just trying to get the computer to fix everything for you all the time. Your intonation, like auto-tune. You can hear auto-tune. It boxes things up. You need to learn how to play in tune, which gets back to practicing. I wasn't the best trumpet kid ever, so lots and lots of practicing. Like again, a band that sits in their garage and plays for a whole year, 3 times a week. I've got kids I'm producing these days. It's hard to get them to play, like that. They have 1 or 2 rehearsals a month. That doesn't cut it. When you're young and starting out, like our Free World days and those Snoop Dogg days, we were at it every day, 24/7. Every day we're at it, and you get better and better and better. And of course, you're not that good in those days, but you just keep practicing and getting better and better. So the better you can play, the better off you are, instead of having the computer fix everything and the computer going to change my timing. You start moving around all the timing and stuff with it. And eventually, and you can hear that stuff, though, because it gets very boxed in. We all can hear it. Again, the recordings I hear these days, country artists, there might be a snare drum, might be 3 instruments, period, on some of these hits, right? I mean, there's a guitar part, there's one drum, like a snare, not even a kick drum, and maybe one other thing, and that's it. Greg Kirsten's hit with Adele, it's piano and her. There's not a lot going on. There's not bass and drums going on. There's not a lot of guitar or any filler tracks. We worked with Skip Saylor, who did Tom Petty. He did Fleetwood Mac, Jackson Brown, stuff back in those days.
Yep.
Those were awesome recordings. You know what I mean? Those bands would come in, the Fleetwood Macs and the Tom Pettys, and would layer guitar parts and work on a song for a month and really, really dial it in,
Well, yeah, you're practicing not only how to play and what you're playing, but, with your group, you're practicing your moves and getting tight with them and whatnot. And I agree with you. They're leaning on the computer and using it as a crutch, and it comes out in the quality or lack of that thereof.
It's just boxed in and stiff, I guess is the word.
Sure. I understand.
The click track is stiff. Again, a really good band, you don't necessarily want to play with a click track, because you want it to flow a little bit, like the Who or Jane's Addiction, or any of that stuff. It's gotta be good and steady, but again, it'd be natural, not so artificial.
Yep, natural's the way it is. So we've only got a couple minutes left. I know you just came back from a tour in California and gallivanting around. Do you have any new projects coming on?
I have a new rapper I met up in Helensburgh, California, I want to produce. Let's see, I got a band, Iftikhar, out from Green Bay, Wisconsin, on an album Lion's Share I did during COVID. We got Stealing the Farm, a really nice little country western band I recorded at Jake Sininger's Humphreys McGee's studio over here. I've got a couple young rappers, Cheapskates band I produced out of San Diego. I got a new kid I want to work on from Helensburgh that's really good. He reminds me of Cypress Hill. I got the 420 stuff coming up in Denver, Summer Camp Music Fest. I'll probably be back out doing San Diego and all that sometime in the summer. I have my group Banyan with Stephen Perkins, Jane's Addiction, Norwood Fisher of Fishbone, Brian Jordan, Terry Saffold, and Durango in Denver. We always played the Mint. We played the Mint a lot in Hollywood. How's that? We played the Mint a lot, so I'll probably have a Mint gig coming up. I'll have to get a hold of you for. We had D Piazzas in Long Beach we like to play. We just did Winston's in San Diego, so I'll come through the West Coast again this summer.
Well, we'll have to get together, because I'm here on the West Coast, and anywhere between San Diego and Santa Barbara, no challenge. So
Well,
that'll
thank
be
you
awesome.
very much. I had a very good time today.
Well,
it was a wonderful podcast.
Thanks so much. How do they get? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
323-371-0500.
And I know that your website's punched up here, but since it's a podcast,
I answer my phone. Anybody wants to hire a trumpet player, 323-371-0500.
Operator is standing by.
Not like the car commercial days, right?
That's it.
375-10-500. WillieWaldman.com.
There it is.
Willie Waldman Music at Frontier.com. Available for anything you have.
Yeah, he's ready and extremely capable. So, hey Willie, thanks a lot.
We learned that lesson from the old recording days too. Strange numbers are great numbers. Don't worry, they're all numbers.
Okay, okay, I'll definitely use that one. Okay, so hey Willie, thanks a million. You have a great evening, and we'll catch you down the road. God bless. Hey folks, you have heard Willie Waldman, and I'm Walt Lusk for On Air with Walt. You can find us on YouTube, live and otherwise, and would love it if you would like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on OnAirWithWalt.com, and of course everywhere that podcasts are, including iHeartRadio. So until next time, God bless everybody.